Station with some very special folks. My name is AJ Davis, and I represent Community Solutions Consulting, a local grassroots consulting firm specializing in community capacity building and community engagement. Tonight, we will be tackling the topics of education and mentoring, and I will have the privilege and opportunity to host a panel of distinguished local experts, advocates, and individuals who have been committed to improving not only education, but building the field of mentoring. So without further ado, I will bring on our distinguished panel of guests. All right, guys, welcome. How's everybody doing tonight?
Great.
We're good.
All right. So I just gave everybody kind of a brief overview of what we are and why we're here. And I'll give the reason for the occasion. So kind of like we're in church. So y'all excuse me, and I'll ask the Lord to forgive me if I mess up a little bit here. But I'd like to say that for the last several years, the landscape here in the Charleston Tri-County area has been rapidly changing, especially as it relates to education, especially with COVID-19 taking center stage this year. And one of the things that I think that has become very, very prominent is the discussion of wraparound services and the community supports for education. And nowhere is that more evident than in the arena of mentoring. And I think that all of you who are sitting on this panel represent, to me, the best and brightest voices and perspectives on that particular topic. So I want to say thank you to all of you for agreeing to be a part of this discussion tonight. And I hope that those who will watch will not only glean from the information that will be provided, but also look within yourselves to become a part of the efforts of these individuals who sit on this panel. So without further ado, I want to give each of you an opportunity to introduce yourselves and kind of give us a brief synopsis of how you came into the arena of mentoring or educational advocacy. So, anyone want to start?
I'll start. Krystle, you go first. Ladies first.
Okay, I'll go first. I am Representative Krystle Matthews, and I currently represent District 117 in the South Carolina State House, but I'm on this panel tonight as a mentor. I've mentored for over 10 years now. I got into mentoring when I was straight out of high school. I began in my church, and it just kind of grew from there. But I've always been involved with different entities and different organizations, as well as my own entity, which I did a long time ago. But always stay connected to the community. I'm also a single mother of 5, which makes me an involuntary mentor on many, many occasions. And so I'm excited to have this conversation today. I think it's a very much needed platform. Thank you, Low Country Black Parents Association, panel ReZsaun, Sam Bellamy, Eric. Great panel of people to be on here with, and I'm excited to have this discussion.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Jackson, since you deferred to the lady, we'll go ahead and go with you.
Oh, yes. My name is Eric Jackson. I'm the founder of R3 Incorporated. It's Real Talk, Real Action, and Real Results. Established in 2011. I'm the founder, but I'm also the community engagement coordinator. So I make sure that we partner with a local assisting organizations, and we work inside the schools. We work inside the communities, and just great to be on this discussion.
Thank you. Mr. Bellamy.
Good evening, everyone. Samuel Bellamy. Personally, I work to increase the visibility and impact of community and school-based mentoring organizations that are specifically working with boys and young men of color. Professionally, I'm leading the efforts to establish a local affiliate of Mentor, the national partnership through my organization, South Carolina Mentors. An affiliate is essentially a clearinghouse for training, resources, public awareness, advocacy. Overall, we're really trying to be the link between Mentor's national efforts and local organizations and programs that kind of foster and support quality mentoring relationships. I've been in this work for a good part of a decade now, and I'm loving it. Happy to be a part.
Thank you. And the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. ReZsaun Lewis.
Thank you so much for having me, AJ. My name is ReZsaun Lewis. My name is ReZsaun Lewis. I am a graduate of North Charleston High School, and I serve in the capacity in the community as the executive director of Low Country Youth Services, which is a youth engagement and empowerment organization that seeks to help young people in the Tri-County area to get the things that they need in life through the lens of mentorship and just youth power, empowerment, and engagement. I'm a native of the city of Charleston. I love the city of North Charleston. I love the people of the Low Country, and I'm just excited to be here with such a great group of people. So I'm excited for this conversation.
All right. Well, just from listening to all of your intros, you can definitely see that there is a wealth of knowledge, experience, expertise, and passion shared amongst all of you. So we're going to dive right into this. Questions, concerns regarding education. So first question I have for each of you, and you can choose, which one of you wants to answer. How important is mentoring to improving academic outcomes? Everybody don't have to answer at once.
I think I'll chime in. Currently, right now, we have a after-school program that's virtual right now that's helping the students. And one thing that we found out in that space is that the work goes beyond just helping them do homework and just making sure that their work is done. It's a conversation piece. It's a follow-up piece. It's consistency. 2 plus 2 also end up having what's going to be for dinner, or some families struggling with dinner. So we end up bringing in other organizations to help with the food capacity. So it's a space that I think that's becoming more and more, diverse in conversations and the things that we're doing in the space. So I think that's where the mentoring aspect coming from. And then a lot of our tutors are older or retired, so they kind of build relationships and have knowledge that the kids tap into also.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, as a former educator, I can definitely tell you that a key indicator of how well a kid does in school is normally the support system that they have. That support system can come in the form of family, in terms of parents. It can be grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. But mentorship also fills right into that role of providing that additional support. There are statistical numbers that show the effectiveness of mentorship on young people. Some people may say it's not directly derivative, but I would dare to argue that mentorship is a key piece, just through the things that I've been able to see with the young people that I've worked with during my time, working both as a coach, as a teacher, and as a mentor with Low Country Youth Services. So I definitely would say that there's definitely a tie between the academics of a young person to the mentorship tie.
All right.
And I'll just chime in and say that I agree with ReZsaun. It definitely reinforces those critical skills that they need. I think mentorship does more than just provide the technical skills, but I think it also helps them build confidence in other areas. And we know that when you build confidence in children, they tend to excel and do better. They tend to stand out, ask questions, try to lead. Those are things that are invaluable that they can't learn from everywhere. But when you have people who are blessed with a gift to be able to pour this into them, I think it becomes an invaluable resource to reinforce, especially with the schools But so many times these days, the children are disconnected from the people who actually teach them. You need that connection with somebody who's going to push them, because you can't get that. Everybody that reaches them won't be necessarily every teacher they have or every person they have. But with a mentor, I think they build that trusting relationship that helps them build confidence, that helps them excel in other areas of life as well.
All right, thank you. Mr. Bellamy.
Yeah, I was actually just going to chime in and piggyback off of what everybody is saying. For me, mentoring goes beyond education. I think quality, producing quality grades and good work in school is actually a byproduct of solid mentorship. Mentoring has the ability to, make students better leaders. Krystle said bolstering self-esteem, providing those critical links to the outside world that they'll need. So I think, the less we focus on academics and the more we focus on the building of a quality person, a quality human being, you'll see that education scores, all of those things will go up. Career exploration, all of that will go up if you focus on the person and not necessarily the outcomes that you want from that person.
Okay. Thank you, guys. So now I'm going to throw a bonus part to that. How do you think mentoring has been affected or impacted with COVID-19?
I mean, I guess
I was going to let.
Oh, go ahead, Krystle.
I was going to let one of the people in the current programs that has the challenge go ahead, but I'll definitely say, because my son is in one of the programs, that they have had to be flexible and they have had to be creative in how they approach and get with these children and engage them. I personally think they've done a phenomenal job. My son is engaged and he is still feeling very supported. And I think that is very hard to do. And with that, I will defer so that one of them can explain what they've had to do to get there.
All right. So, Mr. Bellamy, you were about to give us a very deep and thought-provoking response.
Thought-provoking response? I don't know about that, but I will say that I think COVID has really exposed a lot of mentoring programs. I think you have programs that were kind of established to do very specific things. And when COVID came, it exposed how much more services the young people needed. It exposed how much more collaboration and how much more out of the box thinking and ideas mentoring programs had to do in order to keep the young people engaged and keep their own spirits, keep the mentor spirits up. So I think COVID is actually, as much as I hate to say it, I think COVID has been a godsend for mentoring organizations, especially the ones that were kind of set on being complacent and doing the same thing over and over again just to continue to receive funding, realizing that once COVID hit, they were like, oh, we got to provide more services, or, oh, we're actually missing out on critical opportunities to provide resources to the young people that we serve outside of our, traditional programming and stuff like that. So I think COVID has actually been a good thing for a lot of mentoring programs. And it also exposed some of the programs that, we may have thought were really great. And we just realized how short they came to actually serving the needs of the community.
Yeah, I want to piggyback right there, if that's okay. I just want to speak to a few things that, within our organization, some changes that we've had to make just to make sure that we are meeting the need. Our organization, we thrive on the relationships that we build with our young people. It's not necessarily a method of the delivery that really, but that's the thing. I think what Sam was talking to is like that method of delivery of mentorship. And if your method can be hampered by the ability to meet at a specific place, it really shows the limits of your organization. So, for example, our organization normally meets with our kids at our designated place. We get together 3 times a month for we have our in-person meetings, what we do on second Saturday at the clubhouse, where we all get together and have meetings and trainings and fellowship and all of those things and build those relationships. Third Saturdays, we get together for some kind of fun activity where we're doing something fun and just hanging out. And then fourth Saturdays, we get together for community service, right? Through those things, we're able to deliver the mentorship experience that we're trying to deliver to our young people. Well, when COVID hit, we can no longer meet in person. So what did we have to do? Well, we had to get creative. We started creating Marco Polo groups where our young men can reach out to mentors on a daily basis if they need to, and just send a video saying, hey, a mentor can reach out and say, hey, how are you doing? Do you need anything? Parents had to start calling directly to mentors. We already had that infrastructure there built in. So, you know, in our meetings that we would normally do in person, we started doing the Zoom calls just like everybody else. We're having Zoom calls for office meetings, for our jobs. We implemented that into our programming. We did a sexual reproductive health workshop with our young men via Zoom, and that was an 8-hour program that we were able to break up over 4 days, just because of the fact that we realized that we can't just say, oh well, we can't reach out and touch them, so we can't deliver services. Our kids still need us. Our services are still required. So it's really important that in this realm of mentorship that we always go above and beyond when it comes to reaching our kids, because if we don't, there's nothing there to fill in that gap.
Oh wow! Listen, you guys got me excited. You want to say something, Eric?
Yeah. So basically, we shifted everything to our online platform, especially when we saw what COVID exposed and the disparities with technology. So we didn't only just provide the online platforms. We had to go out and buy more computers. We had to create a space for our kids to come in and socially distance to continue their learning process. So those are some of the things that we had to do to go above and beyond. Just to make sure that those kids were still not falling in those gaps that COVID showed. So, like ReZsaun said, the engagement didn't stop. We found ourselves, knocking on doors again, just making sure that the kids had everything that they need. So, I think that connectivity with the community and families is very, very, needed right now.
Gotcha. All right. So, listen, very, very, very good answers. Next question I have. And I think you've already started touching on it. What are some of the misconceptions about what mentoring is or is not from your perspectives? And I'll start with you, ReZsaun, because you guys give me that pause.
Yeah. So what mentoring is and what mentoring isn't. Mentoring is literally being there. My bro Ricardo Perry would always say, "Be there." It's being there, and it's being there in a meaningful and substantive way, in any way that kid needs from you. Now, I do think that one of the misconceptions that people have is that you need to have this special skill to mentor. You don't. Training is always necessary because you want to make sure that you're falling within the confines of what legally you can do and what ethically is the right thing to do. But like anybody can mentor. If you have a background that's not so great, you probably make a really great mentor just because of the fact that you have life experiences that could be beneficial to a kid. If you are somebody with a clean background, you would also make a great mentor, because you could probably tell somebody about some stories about some things that you had to duck and dodge to get to where you are in life. If you have a college education, you probably make a great mentor. If you don't have a college education, you probably make a great mentor. There is not this checklist of things that you need to be a mentor. So that's one of the biggest misconceptions. Another thing that people misunderstand, and I'll make this one last point because I know there's other people got to talk, is it does not require the amount of time that people think it does. I mentor a lot of kids. I promise you, I'm not just sitting on my phone all day talking to kids. I promise you that I don't spend every day of my life at somebody's school. I promise you that I'm not talking to somebody's parents every single day. I promise you. And I still mentor over 50 kids, me. So with that being said, there's so much more to it, and I'm sure they'll get to it, but I just wanted to say those are some of the misconceptions about mentoring.
All right. Rep Matthews.
I think that for me, I agree with everything ReZsaun said, but I do think that I would add that mentoring is somebody who can pour into other people. If you can't give away what you have, then it's going to be a challenge for you to mentor, because I think oftentimes these kids pull things out of us that we didn't even know were there. And oftentimes it shows us parts of ourselves that we also have to develop and work on. So part of mentorship, I would just add on to what he said, is also being vulnerable, being accessible, being transparent. Those are the things that make good, authentic mentors, because these kids want somebody they can relate to. And like you said, even if you have a clean background, there's a child out there that doesn't want to get in trouble, that has straight A's, that's not trying to get into anything, and they need to know that that's okay. And so what you're doing is being able to pour into someone else. And you don't have to be in a formal mentoring program to be a mentor. I think that's a common misconception as well, is that you have to be part of some kind of formal program or some kind of thing. I mentored at the church. One of my mentees actually, stayed with me on throughout a long, like, graduation, as far as like, I know people do age ranges. I know some people do different sectors and things, but sometimes it requires things of you that you didn't know it was going to require. Sometimes it causes you to have to reach outside your comfort zone and your boundaries. But I think that you have to be first willing, vulnerable, and ready to be transparent in order to be a mentor. But I would definitely say, just be prepared to learn something about yourself that you didn't know. But also, you don't have to be part of a formal program to be a mentor. Many of us already are in our daily lives, and maybe you don't even recognize that you are.
Thank you, Rep Matthews. Mr. Bellamy.
Also piggybacking with Rep Matthews about, whether or not informal mentoring is a thing or formal mentoring is a thing. I think the biggest misconception for me and from my position in the field is that there's only one. There are more than one types of mentoring programs. I think some people just think like, oh, you have the lunch buddy model, you have the one-on-one model. There's small group, there's formal, there's informal. There are so many different types of mentoring organizations, and I think when you have people that are coming into the field or who desire to mentor, they typically only do it one way. And this is where you see, oh, this is a leadership program for young people. We're going to teach them how to tie ties. We're going to teach them how to eat with the right fork. And they think that is mentoring. And while it is, there are also other needs, such as young people who are transient. They're homeless youth. They have a very specific need. So if you're creating a program to address that need, that's going to look completely different than, say, a lunch buddy program would. And that's not to knock any one program. It's just saying that they are completely different needs. They look completely different. And I think the fact that many people kind of identify mentoring looking one way kind of hurts how mentoring organizations are funded. If you only believe that mentoring should look one way when it comes to funding those organizations, or the standards in which you deem a program successful is only through one lens, you're going to miss out on critical parts that are needed to support those organizations and subsequently support those young people as well. So summing it up, the biggest misconception is that, you can only mentor one way. And in fact, there are many different ways that you can do it. It looks differently.
Ooh, let me tell you, I felt that in my spirit, as my good friend says, in my shanana. I felt that one. Mr. Jackson, bring us home.
Yes. Well, what I'm going to say is mentoring does not replace parenting. It's a partnership. So when you find a mentor, that don't mean your parenting skills and ability just go to the side. Actually, parents should look forward to being a part of the organization, volunteering, engaging with the organization. I think too many times, the community look at the mentoring organization as the savior. I tell parents all the time, don't wait till your kids join the gang to find a mentor. You need to be finding mentors and support before your child even think about going into the gang. And the demographics of mentoring is also a factor, because the issues that's going on in the inner city is a little bit different than the ones that may be going out in the suburbs. So that's why having relationships with like ReZsaun and other organizations are great ones because we bounce, ideas off of each other, but we also can say, hey, I can reach this child that's living in my area, or we collaborate on things like that. And I think that's a lot of what we have to do moving forward to make sure that these kids are not falling in the gaps. We have to create a safety net to where all the mentoring organizations using SAM ability to connect everyone forms a safety net, forms programs to make sure that the parents are communicating with the child, also giving the parents support, because at the end of the day, we all parents. we need a hand sometime. My child need an itinerary with all the things he got going on right now. So like that's for the support system for the parents also.
Wow. Listen, I got to tell you, besides the fact that, I know all of y'all in real life, y'all really giving me life on this panel right now. And I hope everybody that's watching sees the authenticity, the genuineness, as well as the commitment to making the field of mentoring the best that it can be for all of our kids, coming from all of y'all. So I want to also shift now into kind of a two-part question. What are some of the challenges either pre-COVID or during COVID that you feel the mentoring field has faced, and how can they be overcome in your opinion?
I'll start. Sam touched on it briefly, but funding. I'm telling you, just to be totally honest, the grassroots Black-led organizations are not getting funded equally in this area. It's been a problem for years. It's been a problem for years. And the thing about it is, like, we in the community. We close to the community. We close to these kids. We close to these families. And to be totally honest, we spend a lot of our own money to make sure our program survive. When you look at what COVID exposed, and 1 out of 5 deaths are African Americans, we got to do better. We have to change the narrative. We have to be bold and requesting, like, what's the line items going to look like moving forward to empower, Black-led organizations. We have to see that. We have to start asking that. We have to get the community involved and saying, hey, we need some mentors and organizations that look like our kids, and we have to get the parents to start saying that. I'm going to stop right there before I go too deep.
Hey, I don't know who coming with the heat after that, but you better bring it.
Well, I guess I'll chime in because I did talk about this on my live earlier, and I'll just go ahead and go back into it right now since he opened the door. Is that there?
Yes, because we might as well be there.
Allowing these organizations to come in from the outside and gain their information from the people that are already here and making money off of them, because that is what they should be doing for the organizations that are already here. These organizations that come from the outside, where do y'all think they're getting this information from? They're getting it from the people who have already done the groundwork. And the people that are doing the groundwork are doing it most of the time for free. But now somebody's getting paid for that. And I'm not going to shave the top off of this thing, but Black bodies equal money must be. Because it's always somebody coming in here to say Black children. And do y'all see how many Black folks is on this call? I am so confused about what people don't understand when they get behind these organizations that come in here. You're fueling the flame that is causing this fire. You have got to push back and say, no, I'm going to send my kids over here. Why aren't y'all paying them over here? What more can they show you other than the fact that they're doing it for free? Imagine if you could get paid to do something that you already love to do anyway. Anyway, I digress, but that is my 2 cents.
Oh, my son, nah. Wow, I'm feeling it up in here.
So I'm gonna jump in right there, because like I think that Eric and Representative Matthews are both hitting like right where it needs to be, like things that need to be said. There are so many times that I'll be transparent for a second. There are so many times that I, knowing the amount of time and energy and resources that it takes for me to do the work that I do and to see the work that you guys do, and to know that we're doing it because we love it, right? Yes, we love what we do. We love what we do. We love what we do. But guess what? We do what we love to do in addition to having full-time jobs and families and all of these things. Whereas there are others, people, and no shade to those people, because, each group, we get it how we live. We make it happen how we can. But a lot of these groups that are in the mentoring realm, they love it. But if they weren't being paid to do it, it wouldn't happen. If they were not being paid to do the work that they're doing, the work that they're doing would not happen. Whereas our work that we're doing, that we love to do, for some reason, our work is less valuable. That's a problem. That's a problem. And so then we get to the point where it says, okay, I'm really, I also say this, I'm really excited about the fact that we as a community, especially the Black community, are galvanizing around the idea of educating ourselves for collective betterment. We have people, we have professionals in the sector, in the field, like Samuel Bellamy, who has, taken the time to create, these infrastructural elements for the mentorship community so that we can become educated about the things that it takes to run a successful nonprofit. There are nonprofits on every single corner in Charleston, South Carolina. Everybody I know has a nonprofit. Who's taking the time that it takes to learn how to effectively and sustainably run a nonprofit so that when these things do need to be funded, like the work that Eric, and AJ do, like the work that I do, like the work that Radia does with her groups, when we need to get funded, we have to be able to step to that table and say, okay, these are our outcomes. These are our incomes. These are our outputs. Here's our theory of change model. These are the things that we can do. But there's a lot of people who have nonprofits who've never heard of those terms. Now, so I know I went off but it's so important that we understand that our work is equally important. And when our work is equally important, we will begin to educate ourselves. We have to begin to educate ourselves on these structures that exist that will allow us to do the work more effectively. Imagine with the work that we're able to do for free as unpaid volunteers, the work that we're able to do. Imagine if y'all put dollars behind us.
Whew.
Imagine if y'all supported us.
Amen.
Imagine.
Amen.
Right.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, Pastor Lewis. Thank you.
Yo,
Woo.
and don't reinvent the wheel. We got Samuel Bellamy right here with all the
Right
info. You don't
here.
even
Right.
gotta go to those organizations. You can come right here in this chat. You can hit this
Right.
man on Facebook.
Thank you.
He
Thank
got
you.
the know-how. He ain't sitting over there with
Right.
the glasses for nothing.
And he
the know-how.
has the framework. He has the framework for it. We have too many grass top leaders only want to fund grass top big organizations instead of the people who are really doing the work. We do the work because we love it. We love it. We'll do it with our eyes closed, hands tied, whatever it is. We're 24-hour accessible, all of that. So why not collectively as a group of people support us who are doing the work, put funding behind us who are doing the work, resources. And it just don't only have to be money. It could be intellect. It could be capital. It could be, when you look at capital, you can talk about human capital. You and your friends, y'all go on Kiowa Island or Seabrook Island, hang out. Why can't y'all put the same emphasis or resources to those who are doing the work here in our communities? If we want to be better, we got to act better. We got to do better, and collectively, just not the grassroots people. Everybody has a role, and maybe your role is to bring other volunteers when y'all doing your 1 or 2 hour tea. Instead of just doing the tea, maybe how about come out and help and support the people who are doing it on the ground.
Woo! Miss Radia Baxter coming in hard and hot. That's what I'm talking about, sis. All right. Mr. Bellamy, Mr. Mentor extraordinaire, one of the most modest people that you could probably meet.
Easily.
But when I tell you There is nobody, bar none, no organization or resource walking in the Tri-County area and dare I say the state of South Carolina that is more in tune with mentoring than my man Sam Bellamy.
Amen.
I appreciate all that. Got this old chocolate brother blushing. So, you know, and I'll just speak from my perspective and the work that I do. I think the biggest challenge is that a lot of people are starting organizations that aren't informed about starting organizations. Whether it comes from a program design aspect, and then you're wondering why you're not getting funded, is because, you know, you didn't put forth a product that somebody was willing to pay for.
Yeah.
You know, people pay other people to solve problems, whether it's an actual problem or whether it's a problem of convenience. So when you're starting an organization because you have a love for it, you can mentor without actually starting a professional organization. I think once you start a professional organization, it does require a certain level of training, even if it's just in how to structure your mentoring organization, even if it's just, you know, filing your paperwork or filing your documents, putting a board together that's going to actually work for your benefit. Not just, you know, putting your family and friends on it because you needed a board to fill out the 501c3 paperwork. So I think, you know, training or the lack of training is the biggest obstacle that the mentoring field faces. And quite frankly, there is no reason for that, because since I've started in my role with Mentor National, you know, as a technical assistance provider here in South Carolina, we offer free technical assistance to every 501c3 based organization that's working in the mentoring field. So whether it's getting it from me or whether it's getting it from other technical assistance providers from across the country, we have the experts that are willing to provide this training for free, because our ultimate goal is to, you know, close the mentoring gap. And whether that is, you know, providing you with resources in terms of how to recruit the best mentors, you know, getting a mentor recruitment plan, getting a fundraising plan, board development training, like whatever it is that an organization needs, the resources are there. But 9 times out of 10, people just start organizations just based off of their passion. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you need other things to go along with that passion in order to become a sustainable organization. So I think sometimes, you know, we start these organizations and we realize that we're in over our head because, quite frankly, running a mentoring organization and caring about kids is 2 completely different things. And I think we juxtapose the 2, thinking that, oh, all I have to do is have a passion for kids and I can do this. But once you get that paperwork and once you have a responsibility to public funding, and once you have a responsibility to the IRS, it's a whole different animal. And I think that's where a lot of organizations get themselves in trouble. And quite frankly, they let themselves down as individuals running an organization. But more importantly, they're letting kids down who have already, many don't have that many opportunities to give to an adult to let them down with. So, you know, that's the biggest problem that I see.
Listen, when I tell you, I got to say this. I am honored to be sitting here amongst you heavyweights. I feel inadequate now. I want to go read a book or something because I don't even feel qualified to sit up here and ask y'all these questions. Before we
cut
go
it out,
further,
you're more than qualified.
Hey,
You're more than
we've seen your lives. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Quiet is kept.
Before we go any further, that fireball that you saw came in with the knowledge, Ms. Radia Baxter. I want to give you an opportunity to just introduce yourself and give everybody kind of a little bit of background about how you came into the arena of education and mentoring.
So I'm Radia Baxter. I've been in Charleston, I think, about 23 years. I've done mentoring, I guess, a 101 more so mentoring for maybe about 20 years. I've been in the education space within Charleston since probably about 2011. I am a people person. I love my community. You know, I'll go hard. This is me. This is genuine, authentic. I'm authentic when it comes to my community and what I can do and how I can help others. You ask me, you need help, whatever I can do, I'm down for the cause. I'm also big in leadership. I'm big on us bringing our young people to where we are to make sure that they are exposed to everything. And when I talk a lot about generational wealth, and I'm not just talking about your capital resources or your money, I'm talking about your intellect. I'm talking about the network, building relationships. All we can do this all together collectively. Everybody has a role, and I keep saying that, but our main role that we can do collectively is ensure that our future leaders, our young people, are equipped with the tools and resources to build the next future. And we have to hold ourselves accountable. We have to be able to give them intellect. We have to be able to pass down, because we grew up, and I many of y'all who are 21 like me, our parents didn't tell us certain things. They didn't pass down certain guidelines, certain advice, and we just did it. But I think that we have a responsibility now that we need to make sure to ensure that our future leaders are getting what they need to do and making the best quality life they can, as we have to be willing to pass down those thoughts and advice. We have to be vulnerable to our kids. I'm not saying let them be disrespectful or anything, but we have to involve them for the future. Sorry about that.
Hey, and one more thing to add to that, Radia. She is a board member for R3 Inc. Just the FYI, she left that off.
All right. Listen, you guys are bringing that heat, that fire. I do want to take a moment because I know there are some people commenting. One of the things that was asked was, for those of you that do have mentoring organizations or do engage in active mentoring, how are youth referred to your programs? So if Sam, ReZsaun, Eric, if you want to take a stab in letting folks know how do young people?
I can tell you. So Low Country Youth Services. So Low Country Youth Services work with young people from 8 to 18 years old. We have two programs that we actually operate through our organization. One is the Distinguished Gentlemen's Club program, which is really our flagship program. We work with young men from 8 to 18 years old. So pretty much third through 12th grade. We work with these young men, and our goal is, to guide them through the transitions of manhood through positive mentorship relationships, as well as positive mentor relationships, community service, and goal setting, teaching them goal setting practices. That's pretty much the bulk of the work that we do. We use our strategies in a multitude of ways, but the age group is 8 to 18. It is a community-based program, so you just go to our website, www.lowcountryyouth.org, to get tuned into our organization. The second program that we have is called Young Men Rise, which is actually a new program that we're piloting into elementary and middle school starting in January. We'll have to be starting at Oak Brook Middle School in Dorchester District 2. And what that is a cohort-based program where we push into schools and we do 10 weeks of training with young men to teach them about self-advocacy, self-love, and how to live within a community of people who are different than themselves. So those are the two ways to do it. So one, you have to, if you want to be in Young Men Rise, you have to be at a school that's offering the program. If your school doesn't offer the program, you might want to talk to your principal about that. And if you want more information, www.lowcountryyouth.org.
All right, Eric.
Yeah. Right now, the website right now, just visit our website. It's just r3inc.org. It has a registration button, and that right now everything is virtual. We set up our meetings with the parents and the students and the participants. You don't have to be in a school. We work with males and females. And that's something that a lot of people kind of get confused with. But we offering online access right now. COVID-19 has kind of knocked us out of the in-person space, but we are working on some great programming when we do get back into the in-person space. I'm working with the truck drivers to come talk about CDL training. I'm working with a lot of organizations that dealing with credit scores, financial literacy, and a lot of that stuff we're going to do online right now. A lot of parents are requesting an in-person space right now, and that's something that's going to be coming up. So just use the website right now, and that's it for right now.
Got you. All right,
I want
Mr.
to jump in there,
Bellamy.
even though I don't have a formal.
Absolutely.
Look, sis.
All right.
Look, sis.
All right. Come on.
Hold on now. I want to shout out my no name having 501c3 having mentoring situation. So I mentor a lot of college students, and I count them as young people still because there's still a lot of guidance that they need when they go into college. And I find that a lot of times helping them talk through situations definitely helps them make decisions that are wiser. People tend to just reach out to me on their own, or their parents may suggest that they reach out to me and contact me, and I do meet with them one-on-one to kind of talk about things. I was going to start a group situation before COVID, and now I'm still going to do that, but in a different way. So anyway, I want to shout out my no-name organization that I don't have a name for, or 501c3, but I do currently mentor some of the college students at state and other places, and I even have a few from out of state. So anyway, there you go.
Well, let me first, Rep Matthews, say I love it. Your no name is your name, and your name carries weight. So please understand that. You like we have all said, you don't have to have an organization to be a mentor, and you are definitely someone that mentors not only youth but those of us as adults, because we watch you, we read your posts, we watch your lives, and you do a lot of education for a lot of us regarding the political process, understanding what we as constituents and citizens need to do. So yeah, I do not want to downplay your no-name organization at all. Mr. Bellamy.
Yes, sir. So I have a lot of different ways that you can connect. First, if you are a mentoring organization, or if you're thinking about becoming a mentoring organization, and you just kind of want to know what Mentor, the national partnership, is all about, and kind of the organization that I represent for South Carolina, you can go to www.mentoring.org, and that will take you to the national website. If you are an organization that has a 501c3 and you are looking for the technical assistance that I mentioned earlier, you can go to the National Mentoring Resource Center.org and fill out the application to request technical assistance. If you are looking for me specifically, just type my name and request me as a technical assistance provider for you, and that information will get to me. If you are a parent, family member, community member, and you're looking for a mentoring organization in your area, so on our website, scmentors.com, we actually started an online directory where you can search for mentoring organizations via their county, zip code, or by typing in name if you know it. So if you're looking for an organization to connect your young person with, you can use that directory. Again, scmentors.com. If you are a no-name mentoring organization that provides mentoring, that is looking for any type of assistance or guidance or anything like that, you can also go to scmentors.com and shoot me a link. Or if you're like Krystle, Rep Matthews, just call me and I will help you. We can get all that stuff squared away.
Thank you. I want to go back to the comment section. This is more of a comment, and it speaks to kind of the topic of mentor and the work. And it's from Miss Vanessa Seiler, and she says, "I can't help but think that as Black people doing the work, there is this idea that there's an obligation to do work of this nature. So how dare you seek compensation or even resources to complete the work? I could be wrong, but I really believe this contributes to the lack of funding, among other factors." So that's somebody who's watching the live, who's talking about, that unspoken, almost taboo topic of both race, authenticity, and just who deserves support. So, we saw this year, as an aside, with not only COVID taking center stage, but the ever-present specter of racism with Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and the protests that took place nationwide, the rallying cry of Black Lives Matter coming to the forefront with companies and corporations, saying, changing their company profiles and whatnot. We saw plazas and streets being named. But I think one of the issues that continues to plague us is, do Black organizations matter? Does Black mentorship matter? Does funding for Black organizations and initiatives matter? Because if you follow me on Facebook, there's something I love to say all the time. Can we move from the symbolic to the significant? And what you guys are talking about tonight is the significant, because you're doing the work. And while I hope that everyone watching definitely is watching to see and listen to your expertise, this is not just you guys talking to hear yourselves talk. You're talking about real life, real issues that have been here pre-COVID. So I hope that those people who are watching this tonight also understand your role in helping to address this issue. So that's AJ's soapbox. I do apologize. I couldn't let y'all preach so much without getting in a little word. Yes, Rep Matthews. Not the finger. Not the finger.
Hey, I'm next.
The church finger at that. So this is one of my pet peeves that I have, and one of my areas that I talk about quite a bit as far as African Americans or Blacks or whatever you want to call yourself right now. We have got to stop thinking that we have to do more than. We're one of the only ethnicities that feel like we have to do more than or treat our own any differently to give some semblance of fairness. And that also spills over into how we work and how we overachieve, because we think that we have to overachieve. We have to do it twice as good. No, we don't have to. We have to demand that we are treated fairly. We have to demand that we want the money. But part of that also, it funnels back into what we were talking about with Sam when it comes to how we structure ourselves and making sure that we are in a line that we can catch the windfall and the opportunity when they come. Also, I will tell you that when it comes to things at the State House, and we very rarely that I've seen since I've been there get organizations that come and ask for funding, but that is something that you would do through your representative anyway, and they would then fight for it in the State House as far as any grants or anything like that. Of course, we don't do reoccurring, but every now and again there's something that comes up, but it just depends on how hard they want to fight for it. But you have to structure yourself, and you have to already have the mentality that you are worth having. That you can't come in with a beggar's mentality and hope that somebody gives you funding. I can tell you that I can see a lack of confidence when it walks through the door. And when you come in like that, you're almost guaranteed to get a no, because they feel like they can give you a no. So you have to come in with the mind mentality that you're not accepting no, and that they're going to give you something. A lot of times it ends up that way when it plays out. Now, you don't have to agree, but I'm just telling you what I see from where I sit. And that is oftentimes what I see. And because we've had to struggle and we've had to be creative and innovative as people just in our regular everyday lives, it causes us to sometimes jump around things and fall over hoops to make things happen instead of considering that there's a better way in the first place. So I will say that we've got to want to have go get it mentality as well. And we've got to rely on people like AJ, who does an incredible job writing. I know he's moderating tonight, but if you've never read anything that he writes, it's full of words because he's so smart and he has the know-how and the wherewithal to research and do anything that he puts his mind to. And you couple him with Sam Bellamy, who's got the other part of the mechanics. And I'm telling y'all, we're in a situation where we can win should we want to set ourselves up to.
Thank you, Rep Matthews. Miss Radia, I saw you raising your finger. Are you able to talk now? I know she was having some technical difficulties.
Yeah, she's having some difficulties.
Okay. All right.
Can I say something real quick?
Absolutely.
just to piggyback, and I just want to come back to the fact that, you know, it sort of combines. Oh, I see you, Roddy. You ready?
So I just want to piggyback on Representative Krystle for a minute, and I wanted to go back to the young lady. So one is that just like when you are having dialogue with a mentor or mentee relationship, I understand about that costs nothing, but there are other things that need to happen too. You have activities, you have framework, you have structure. All of those things cost money. And there's and other resources, even to say you want to do exposure, you want to take them to the museum, you want just as that's a part of a mentor relationship. And to me, that question is just like we have historically Black colleges, right? University, they're known to educate Black people. Do we not pay them? Don't they require funding? Don't they require teacher salaries? I mean, professor salaries? Don't they require books? Don't they require computers? Don't they require experiences? All of those things cost money. Everything costs money. And my mom used to tell me there is no free lunch, none. So all of those things cost money. And why should we go in and be willing to take pennies to educate or mentor or have relationships with our children just because we have the same color? No, we are afforded the same thing that everybody else should be. When you go to them historically Black colleges, trust me, but everybody be in that financial aid office, or there is some kind of requirement to pay for resources. So what's the difference in what we do, what mentorship is doing as in requiring for monies to resources to get capital? Yeah, we need that for activities, you know, going places. I just think we're trying to look for the pennies versus looking up and taking for what's ours and where we need to go at with that.
Great answers, great dialogue, folks. I do want to give one of our esteemed guests the opportunity to give us some parting words because they have another engagement, but I do want to let everybody know how fortunate we have been to have the illustrious. And I wanted to use that word specifically.
That's a good word.
Representative Krystle Matthews, who just won re-election. I think we need to give her a round of applause for that. And I don't think people understand how significant that is in such a red state as South Carolina is to have a firebrand such as her. You know, and I got to give this shameless plug. You know, everybody's talking about Kamala and President-elect Biden, but we have our own superstars right in front of us. And I will always tell folks, you don't have to look far for greatness here in this area, especially in the Black community.
Come through.
We have that in Rep Matthews. So Rep Matthews, we know you got to go. Give us your parting words.
Well, thank you all so much for having me. This has been quite the honor. I've enjoyed the conversation. I hope that the people watching it will take this conversation back home to other friends and family members and really start to get the word out. That is something that our community does well. I think it's a highlight of our community. I am reachable. You can call my number at 843-310-8755. Again, that is 843-310-8755. It's probably better to text me, I'll be honest with you, at that number, or you can email me at kmatthews.screp@gmail.com. And if you have any questions, if you ever want me to come, and I especially love to talk to young people, but also young adults. Please don't get rid of our young adults so fast, y'all. They're still learning. There's still a lot they have to work through and decipher, especially right now in the volatile society that we are living in. Guidance is more important than ever. This forum was about mentorship and education. And right now, we are in the thick of it. I believe that we will look back years from now and see that we were actually in a war and didn't even know it, because we are so used to surviving and our backs are so strong and used to standing up that it's going to come to that. So anyway, thank you guys for having me. I enjoyed every minute of this. You guys are phenomenal. You're rock stars in your own right. I am taking notes from you all, and I'm going to link up with Samuel Bellamy and come up with a name for my no name. and we're gonna be all right. But thank you guys, and y'all have a good night, and I'll talk to you later.
Thank you, Rep Matthews. Appreciate you. All right, guys. We're going to segue into the next question. Want to keep things going. We talked a lot about support, and we've already breached this subject, but I would like for you all to kind of give me an idea of what you would describe the support for mentoring, what that looks like, with a particular emphasis from the Black community. So, you know, we've talked a lot about the issues surrounding mentoring and things of that nature. What does that look like from the Black community?
Let me chime in right quick because we got a guest that said there's plenty of money out there and it's easy to get. You just have to understand you have to deal with people you might not like. People will turn down millions from Tim Scott because he's a Republican, then complain money isn't there. Well, I'm going to address this just as simple as this. All money ain't good money to me. That's not, Tim Scott is not in my area. I try to come from a genuine place. And what I'm talking about, when I talk about support, I'm not just talking about money. Sometimes we are denied access to certain areas, certain schools. It's not all about money. It's just, man, coming to see our kids where they're at. We have to take our kids to them all the time. Coming to the inner cities and deal with some of the issues that we have to deal with. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't get into politics like that. I'm an independent person. I don't deal with Democrats or Republicans. But when I look at the disparities in the African American communities, all of them can do better. And right now, we shouldn't have to be going to them. They should be coming to us. Republicans are Democrats. You see what I'm saying? So I don't get into all that. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this for over 15 years. And people just coming into the game doing this 4 or 5 years. Come on, man. Just respect the fact that we've been doing this for a long time. You see what I'm saying? Like, you know, a lot of things that people do right now is the problem. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm just being real. I'm being totally honest. Like, people piggyback and do what you've been doing for 10 years, start something new, and act like they created a whole new lane. We've been doing this. People have been doing this before me. You know what I mean? So you got to be respectful of everybody's area. People in different places. People do different things. You see what I'm saying? And like I say, I'm not going to accept money just from anybody. Period. You know what I'm saying? Because when you start doing that, they dictate what your program is about. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, I mean, if money was the only answer, we'll be winning in some areas because a lot of people getting a lot of money. But at the same time, COVID has exposed that's not the only answer. We need relationships. We need to build partnerships. We got to collaborate because I'm telling you, when you look at what's going on right now, you got music controlling half of the community. You see what I'm saying? So, like, we just got to be able to shift, man.
Gotcha. Anybody else want to touch on that Black community support?
So, can I address that and then go to Black community support? All right. So I think what I want to say is this. All right. So my issue with that comment from my brother, whom I respect and love, is okay. How many of us on this live have been offered millions of dollars by an elected official?
I went to school to learn exactly what all of us are doing. I have connections with grant individuals. I get the grant alerts. I can tell you, Sam can tell you, there's not millions of dollars laying around just for everybody to get.
Okay.
Competitive processes and all of that. So unless I'm missing something.
So this is exactly my point. So when people say things like, you don't want to take money from X person because you don't agree with them, that gives you the impression that there's been money offered that has been turned down by specific people. That is not the case. That is not the case. And the bulk, the vast majority of organizations that are Black led in the state of South Carolina. That is the general story. And I'll tell you this also. There is money that comes available. And when you have relationships with specific people in specific offices, they will call those people and say, hey, this money is coming available. This is what you need to do so that you can be first in line to get this money. I'm going to tell you what I mean. When the PPP funds came about, right? When COVID happened and they started releasing PPP funds to small organizations, well, guess what? There's a reason why Ruth Chris got millions of dollars as a small group, because their bankers called them and said, hey, you need to be ready. You need to be ready to do this, right? These organizations have been set up to be able to receive this money and to get those calls, whether it be through political affiliations, whether it be through community affiliations or whatever it may be. I can tell you about calls that I've heard, like I've been a part of, where a specific elected official knew that money was coming available and called a specific person and said, hey, this money's coming available. Do you want it? I can also tell you that I was not a party to that. I can tell you that my organization was not a party to that. My organization was not one of those that were made available. I just have proximity to people who were a part of those calls. Now, if you're one of the people who have proximity to those calls, then you're talking about a completely different conversation. You're talking about a completely different conversation than what we are talking about. So I'll leave that there. All right. Secondly, the Black community, right? We walk out here and we say that mentorship is important. Since Barack Obama left office, Barack Obama started working with the My Brother's Keeper initiative during one of his final speeches when he left office. I think it was his final State of the Union, where he announced that he'll be working with the My Brother's Keeper initiative. After that point, mentoring became the buzzword. Everybody's talked about mentorship. Organizations have started being funded surrounding mentorship. How many of those organizations that were funded surrounding mentorship were Black led? These are simple questions. Now you talk about the Black community, right? The Black community knows the need for the programs. The problem is also that the Black community is largely, if you're looking at percentages, we're not doing great overall. The median income, I believe, in the state of South, in the city of Charleston, of North Charleston, is right around $33,000 per Black family. Whereas you look at the median income for a Caucasian family, and it skyrockets about another $30,000, if not $40,000. Right? So the Black community, I believe that the Black community, supports us the way they think the best way they think they can. Do I think that we could do a whole lot more crowdfunding? Sure, but I can't count your pockets for you. But I definitely wish that the way we support a lot of other things that we support in the Black community, I wish that some of that support, a lot more of that support, would go towards organizations like Eric and AJ's, and like towards the work that Sam's doing, and the work that Roddy is doing, and the work that I'm doing. Not because I'm trying to get rich off of mentorship, but because I know the power of what we do. I know the power of it. I've seen young people go from struggling in school and getting in trouble in fights every day to doing really well and becoming, high school graduates, becoming, college students, becoming fathers, becoming policemen, becoming military members, kids who were stealing cars. We know the power of it. So if we know the power of it, then we have to be willing to put our dollars behind it because we know it works. The Bible says that where a man's treasure is, his heart is also. If your heart's with us, then your treasure should be there too. Support us.
All right. Radia, we can't hear you.
I was about to say, we also need to think about it. Mentor work for us as adults. So why it can't work for our children? Why we can't put in resources and support systems that we put in ourselves as an adult? The same thing can go for young people. I mean, it's the same. Why we can't look at it as the same? Maybe it may be on a different scale, But it's the same thing when we go and make relationships and have this mentor for this thing that we're doing. It's the same thing that we're asking for our children, and to put resources behind that.
Got you. Thank you. Sam.
So I guess I have a lot of different thoughts, mainly because I've been on a lot of different spectrums of this work. So I think my perspective is just, it's different. When it comes to funding, there are very few organizations, there are very, very few foundations, there are very few funding sources, period, out there that are specifically earmarked for mentoring. Like I mentioned earlier, what we're really trying to do is solve problems. So when it comes to federal funding, when it comes to state funding, local funding, you have to tie whatever it is that you're doing to an initiative that people with the money already cares about. So like you take the school system, for instance, there's not a budget for motivational speakers to come into the school. There's not. But there is a budget for retention specialists. And if the retention specialist happens to be a motivational speaker, oh, well, we can cut a check for that. There's not a budget to establish mentoring programs per se, but there may be a budget to establish, a SEL program in your school. So one of the keys to funding is finding the things that people already care about and then tying your initiatives to that. So that's one thing. The other thing is when it comes to community organization and getting funding from the community members that you're serving, we got to be more specific in how we ask for the money. A lot of times organizations are just saying, hey, we're doing this work, donate to me. And people are just like, donate for what? Like, what is the money going to? Like, I see you doing stuff, but what do you need me to do? Like, it sounds silly saying you got to specifically ask for what you need. But when it comes to other adults and their money, you have to specifically ask for what you need. So you can't say just donate because we're doing great work. You got to tailor this message to compel them to want to donate. The other thing, it goes back to training again for me, is that we have to educate organizations on how to ask for money. We got to educate them on putting together fundraising plans. We have to educate them on doing budgets and all of these things, so that when they do get funding, they do the right thing with funding, which opens the door for more funding. It's hard to ask somebody for money if they don't see what you did with the last bit of money that you received. So that's another thing. The third and last final point, when it comes to who we accept money from and who we don't accept money from, I think for some people and for some organizations, who they accept money from is specifically tied to the strings that come with that money. And that's assuming that there are strings that come with it. For some organizations, getting cashing a check from a certain organization might mean, okay, well, now you have to publicly endorse me. And if you're not willing to do that, that's money that you can't accept, ethically, I would assume. So I think it just depends. The other thing, when it comes to specifically African-American led organizations, I didn't come up with this saying, but there's this saying that you can't dismantle the system that's funding you. So like if the issue that you're trying to solve is that Black people, whether it's young boys or young girls, are being unethically and unequally treated, whether it's in the educational system or whether it's in the political system, then it's hard to accept money from them when they are the problem that you're trying to solve. Like, you can't be funded by the same people who are causing the problem that you're trying to fix. So I think it really just depends on what you're trying to do, what your ultimate goal is. I do think money is available. I think there has to be a certain way that you go about asking for it. I also think there's a certain way that your organization has to be structured to receive the money. Because if you don't have any audits, if you don't have any good books, I'm not writing you a check for $100,000. Like, that's just not going to happen. So I think there's a lot of different nuances to that conversation, and depending on what spectrum you are, one of those solutions will work for you, and one of those things are also the reason why you're not getting funding. So I think it just depends on the organization.
Got you. Thank you. Yeah, I was on mute. Sorry.
I hate that.
I do want to give an opportunity for another one of our esteemed panelists, Mr. Brandon, to give us a few words, because you come from the coaching background, which in many cases, a lot of people don't view coaching as mentorship, but it is, in my opinion, and I think everyone else can agree, another vital component of that, and does so much for our youth. So Brandon, please go ahead and give us a little bit about how you came into coaching and how you view that as a part of mentorship.
Hey, how y'all doing? I'm a Burke alumni, and I've been coaching. Well, 21 will be my 14th year. That I love the game, both basketball and football. I love my community, and my way of giving back to the community, excuse me, with just working with the kids, teaching the kids on and off the field how to be young men. So that's when ever since I started, I fell in love with it.
Got you. I know you're having a little bit of technical difficulty spotting in and out, but I do want to give, for those people who are watching and who may not understand, we tend to look at coaches exclusively through the lens of, coaching our kids, getting them prepared to compete in sports. But coaches do so much more. Any of us who actually played sports at any point in our lives, whether it was rec league or actual organized sports in high school, know that our coaches oftentimes provided us with mentorship in ways that many of our other teachers and other people in our lives did not. So, Brandon, I do appreciate you being a part of this conversation, even though we got some technical difficulties, but we want people to see, and we're definitely going to have another episode with you and other coaches, because that's another unspoken part of the mentorship equation that we also don't support as much as we need to.
Absolutely.
And let me, in my closing statement, I just want to make sure that everybody understands where I'm coming from. Man, I respect anybody that's working in the community, if it's North Charleston, downtown, Goose Creek. Our area is changing, man. And some of the work that I do away from, just this nonprofit sector, Charleston is forever changing. You see what I'm saying? So our communities are going to have to become closer, because they're pushing us closer together with the gentrification of the communities. So it ain't going to be no more downtown and North Charleston and Somerville and all that different type of, beefs and skirmishes that we have. We're going to have to eventually come together and work collectively to help these kids in our community. One of the things that bothers me the most right now is we got a lot of young people dying of gun violence. They got music influencing our community. And this is the type of things, man. I'm here to work with anybody. If you need programs to be developed, I'm more than willing to work with Sam, AJ, Radia, ReZsaun. We can help develop this thing community by community if we need to. And ain't no time to be throwing shades and having gripes towards nobody, man. We have to work together collectively, man. And that's where I'm at with it. Because right now, our kids are dying. You know what I'm saying? Our kids are dropping out of school. People have different approaches when it comes to education. Some kids going to go to 4-year colleges. Some kids going to go to 2-year colleges. My thing is, I just want the kids to be able to learn. You see what I'm saying? We got to teach our kids to learn how to learn. And that's where I'm at with it, man. So if those kids want to go to a trade program, 2-year college, 4-year college, military, entrepreneurship, let's make that happen for them. By any means necessary, let's make it happen for them together.
Got you. Well, this has been quite a fact-filled event. I know that it will not be the last. We've had a couple folks that have had to drop off, but what I want to do right now is give those of you who are remaining an opportunity to give us some closing thoughts regarding the state of education or mentorship, or any issues concerning either one of those two topics that you want to leave with those who may watch this. So, Roddy, I don't know if you want to start with that. You're muted again, I think. You're muted.
Sorry.
She was rolling
Sorry about that. I remember Eric talking earlier about mentorship doesn't replace being a parent. And that kind of stuck with me as saying, one is that, you know, parents, we are our first children's educator. Second of all, the power that we have as parents. I think we should look at just what happened with the school district just now in the school board elections. Just think of how powerful our vote is, how powerful our voice is. How we can make changes, how just little old me, little old you. So I think we all need to just relax, relate, and just think about how powerful we are and what we can do to change the game and to advocate for our kids and our families and our communities. The power is within us. Everybody has leadership opportunities in there. Everybody is a leader. It's just how you use those skills and those abilities to impact the lives of others and in your community, in your family, and in your school and in your household. So that would be my lasting word. And again, generational wealth, not just talking about money. And like Eric said, you can have all the money in the world and still be dumb, broke, all of that into it. But it's also about intellect, what you have and how you pass down to future generations.
Thank you, Roddy.
That's my speech.
ReZsaun.
Yeah, great discussion tonight, man. I just want to say again, like it's certain rooms that I find myself in that really humble me. It humbles me because to be mentioned with specific names is just amazing to me. And it's 10 years ago, it's not something that you ever would have told me that would have been happening. So I praise God and I thank God for every opportunity I have to speak to you guys. I wanted to leave with a few thoughts. One, there's power in collaboration. One of the strongest tools that I have at my disposal is AJ and Eric. They're one of the most, and I won't even say Sam because like Sam is one of my, I call Sam one of my best friends. I call him one of my best friends. He may not call me his best friend, but I call him my best friends because when I have a question, when I'm confused about something, when I'm not sure, I can call him and he will hear me. But Sam is such a great resource, and you guys are such resources because you don't hoard information. We're not at a race to the top. As Black people, we're naturally competitive. We just are. We got to be the best dancers. We got to be the best rappers. You never hear two rock and roll artists talking about, Slash was better than, Eddie Van Halen. Like that's not something that they sit there and they argue about. But we will argue about LeBron versus Michael Jordan all day because we're just naturally competitive. We do not need a spirit of competitiveness in the mentorship realm. We don't need a spirit of competitiveness in the nonprofit sector. Yes, we may be quote unquote competing for funds, but guess what? We have a better chance of accessing those funds when we work together and we collaborate. So I want to start by saying that we have power in our numbers. Reach out to the resources. If you are somebody who's interested in mentoring, ask yourself, are you interested in mentoring or are you interested in running an organization? Because they're two different things. Sam talked about this earlier. Mentoring and running a mentoring program are not the same thing. So if you're interested in mentoring, the best answer is not always to start a mentoring program. Because as Sam said earlier, the worst thing that you can do is tell a child, I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to build a structure to support you and then disappear. Because now you're just another man or woman who has let them down. You're another adult that they will never trust. And not only will they not trust you, they will not trust other adults, which can lead to larger problems. If you are interested in running a program, get properly trained. Before you get a logo, and this is something I had to learn, before you get a logo, before you decide, to jump out and get a website, before you decide to do all of these things that we do, decide what the problem is that you're trying to solve. Why are you starting this program? What are you bringing to the community that does not already exist? What are you bringing to the community that you couldn't join another organization and give more substantially and more long-term and more effectively? These are things that we have to do. So if you decide after all of that you want to start a program, get trained. Reach out to Samuel Bellamy. Reach out to the SC Mentor affiliate once it gets here and find out what kind of resources that you need. Reach out to Together SC. Find out what resources are available to nonprofit organizations for you to be maximally effective long-term so that you won't be spinning your wheels 5-10 years down the road talking about why doesn't anybody support me?
Thank you. Mr. Jackson, I know you gave us a good parting shot. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I'm just gonna just talk about Brandon and what we're about to do with the volunteer coaches. Brandon is one of the young athletes that I saw growing up that had a passion for giving back. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a collection of the volunteer youth coaches, and that's going to be a show that we're going to do so you can know what's available to your community youth sports-wise, and also what they do away from the field to help these kids, because there's more work that go into youth sports than just those kids playing on Saturday mornings. You know what I'm saying? So, I want to, make sure we highlight the good work that they're doing and how we can get that arena to collaborate a little bit more and build great programs for these kids. As y'all saw, locally we had Aaron Neesmith that just went to the NBA. He's right here from Charleston. He came from a great program. He got great parent support, great people around him, and that's what we can do in Charleston when we come together and form these relationships. So that's what I look forward to doing with the volunteer coach arena.
Absolutely.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have had a full hour and a half, 90 minutes worth of awesome conversation, awesome work, awesome dialogue. And what I want to leave folks with who may watch this, who may share it, is to know that these are all local people, local organizations, local individuals who are easily accessible. And much like we support a lot of the work of outside groups and organizations, and not to take away from, their work, we oftentimes negate the work that's already being done, much of which is on the same level, if not greater. I'm a big believer in building internal capacity. That's what Community Solutions was started for. That's what Low Country Black Parents was started for. We believe in elevating each other. And while we may not agree on the methods to get there, let's at least agree on the destination, which is empowerment, which is support, which is broadening the horizons of our young people, which is strengthening the capacity of our communities to be self-sufficient and empowered. With that being said, I want to thank each of you for taking part in this very, very much so needed discussion. I want to thank everyone who tuned in for the duration of time, and look out for the next in this series, which we will be advertising real soon. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and you guys have a good night.
Thank you.